Welcome to AI, Government and the Future, a podcast by Corner Alliance. We explore the intersection of artificial intelligence, government and the future. We work with government to create results. We ignite your agency's mission by helping you to design and implement high-impact and innovative federal programs in AI, broadband, cybersecurity, public safety, and more. Being a government ally is at the core of all we do.
Welcome back to AI Government in the Future. I'm your host, Marc Leh. Today, I'm excited to welcome Bruce Randall to the show. Bruce is a seasoned expert and business leader with vast background in cloud computing, AI, and cybersecurity. His experience spans high-impact roles at companies like Oracle and MediaPro, where he led digital transformation and cybersecurity initiatives. Currently is an executive member of the International Leap Network and an advisory board member at Kimberlite Token. Bruce is pioneering new approaches to the intersection of AI, business, and technology. Today, we'll be exploring the AI-human paradox and how governments can navigate the complex relationship between AI, innovation, security, and regulation. We'll dive into the critical challenges and opportunities that arise when deploying AI technologies in national infrastructures and other government applications while balancing oversight, collaboration, and the human condition. Welcome to the show, Bruce. It's good to have you.
Thanks, Mark. I'm happy to be here today.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to have you on as well. So, Bruce, you've had a very diverse career, leading business development at Oracle and advising on new projects like your Kimberlite token. Can you share a little bit more about your journey and kind of what initially attracted you to the intersection of technology and business strategy?
Sure. I was in digital advertising and I transferred to software where, that's the future no matter what we are, whether we're in AI or whether we're in, databases or where the technology is. And I was selling cloud and AI. And then I saw a film on what they're doing with brain-computer interface. And that really struck a nerve with me. So I dug deep. I got a certificate from MIT on AI to understand the back end of it because I understand the front. And now it all comes together and I'm ready to tell the story.
Absolutely. I guess anything specific about that brain interface AI application that really piqued your interest?
Sure. I've been meditating for 20 years and I'm a Reiki master. So I understand, I can move a piece of paper on a pin tip, right? And I can make it dance. So I said, okay, I can do that. But when I saw the Neuralink video where the first chip implant person, Nolan, could take through his thoughts, move the computer mouse and be an expert at computer games and chess, I said, how can AI get him to do it so proficiently? And I can only move a piece of paper. So that really got my curiosity going. And then I understood that the AI is reading his impulses, his thoughts. And sometimes Nolan says that his thoughts move the mouse before he thinks of it. So when you think about that, you think about what the potential is in the future, and it's really pretty limitless.
Well, and I remember even, half a decade ago, emerging user interface paradigms like, gesture and haptic interfaces, vocal command. I mean, going back a decade plus, but we've come a long way and the rate of innovation is only accelerating. So that's really exciting. I do want to get into a little bit more of your background and current activities. I know you're an executive member of the International Leap Network and you've done some really interesting recent work with digital tokens for physical assets. I guess, what are you working on these days and how does AI come into play across those efforts?
Sure. Well, Leap is an international executive and manager company where they talk about what you have and what the market is like today. So if you're going to be consulting or what you can bring to the market that's applicable today. And Kimberlite is a very unique token where most tokens are backed by the decreasing quantity of them over time. One is backed by gold that I've seen, but Kimberlite, they think that they can take their token into the business they currently have, diamond mining. And if they back the token with diamonds, then you've got an asset-backed token that's blockchain attached. So everywhere from when it's cleanly dug to the ground to every step along the way in transportation to the gemologist, the reading, the rating, and so forth, and who owns it. And you've got a complete history to every diamond, which is lacking today. And it's a token. So they can go in the deep parts of Africa. They can trade with this token because it works with Bitcoin and it can be turned into whatever currency you want. So they have a way of going in and buying the diamonds without carrying cash and giving them value that they can convert. So it's really a win-win, and it's a really nice to see a token that has something other than scarcity and has some value behind it.
Yeah. Well, and I think, when you're describing kind of the traceability of the diamond supply chain, there are a lot of parallels with, current government and federal focus on increasing the resilience of domestic supply chains, whether it's semiconductor, whether it's energy, whether it's transportation. Even with the incoming, hurricanes and storm season, being able to monitor civic infrastructure and egress routes for evacuations. I think there's a lot of public sector applications for the underlying technology, and whether it's blockchain or the identification and traceability standards or techniques that allow full visibility into a product as it changes across geography and step. So that's really interesting to hear. I guess, is there anything about the Kimberlite, back end technology in terms of supply chain traceability that you think is particularly relevant for, federal managers or leaders in that regard?
Well, I think it's applicable there because anytime you're taking a product and moving it across borders, you've got paperwork. And if you have blockchain, it stays right with the product all the way through with complete traceability. And it's very quick, very easy to see because it's all right there. And I think this can be applied to many things going cross-border or even inter-country to get traceability and inventory and so forth, and make it that much faster and quicker to get it, almost, in somewhat real time, depending on how the information's coming in. And one other thing that Kimberlite is looking to do is they're looking to create a game, and it's going to be a mining game where they put diamonds in a minefield, some 1 carat plus and some smaller ones. And the people will come and they'll buy a plot of land, they'll buy the mining tools, and they'll mine for diamonds. And when they get a diamond, it's attached to the blockchain, so they know exactly the history. They can trade that token in and get it shipped to them, and they get the raw cut diamond in their possession. So this is really taking gaming to another level as well, where you've got assets in the game that you can actually take out of the game, and you pay for, mining and so forth in the game to acquire those assets.
No, that's very interesting. Well, I wanted to make sure we had some context in at least where your attention is kind of currently focused. So appreciate that. And I guess, Bruce, as AI technologies are increasing the automation, speed, information that's used to support decision-making processes, whether it's, government on an advisory board or within a government agency, I guess, big picture, how do you see AI really impacting human autonomy and the role of, people when making these decisions related to organizational strategy?
Well, a lot of the decisions are made at the top level, and they have too much data and they just don't know what to do. It's almost paralyzing to them. So being able to assimilate that data quickly and intelligently, which AI can do, and show you what you need to show and filter out all the rest at any level of the organization is very important, because then you have the data you need to make the decisions. And as long as you have the inputs, and AI can take it from any sensor, can take it from anywhere and assimilate that up, then you've got a dashboard that gives you what you need when you need it, and that enables the whole organization.
And obviously AI can process immense amounts of data, but some argue that without proper training or context or kind of a human commanding and refining prompting, it lacks maybe a certain level of intuition or maybe the soft skills that go into a big business decision or a public policy decision that would require additional context. I guess, how, in your opinion, should AI be balanced between human decision makers and processing that information for government applications?
AI always needs a human component to it, because you have a large language models right now. And in the large language models, you can train the model by feeding it information continually for a period of time that will train it in the way that you want the output to come in. But oftentimes in these applications that provide you with the data, you don't train them. They're bringing the data in and parsing it independently and going by percentages, what matches, what they're sending through. So I think that people are going to be critical in AI being successful in the future because they have to guide AI. They have to keep an eye on AI because even the LLMs aren't always accurate, or the apps bringing the data in. If you have bad data in, they don't know if it's bad data, right? It's just going to come up to the top unless it kicks out with one of the checks. So you need somebody to take a look at that, because if they don't take a look at that and they don't verify that the data is accurate, then you're not going to get the end result that you're looking for. And that's one of the dangers in AI today.
A common topic on the show is, how can government programs or policies position themselves to strike a balance between responsible, ethical, and, AI applications that benefit, society and different stakeholders for individual federal programs, staying out of the way and not constraining innovation, like supporting the competitive advantage that the United States has in, like market share and speed to market with AI applications. I guess, is there a specific role, regulatory framework, or general position that government agencies or policymakers can assume to strike this balance?
There is. And, AI is set to be able to see trends and opportunities before the human can see that. So in parsing this data and able to go and see trends and to see opportunities for trade or for better ways of management in the government, or ways to save, or ways to propagate improvements in the US. That's something that AI is an enabler. It enables us to make better decisions. It enables us to get better opportunities and to see opportunities before we can perceive them in the marketplace. And that's really where it is. And that's why you need the human component, because AI will give you the data and you have to look at it and pull out of it what you see for your particular use and for your particular vertical that you're working on.
Yeah, and I know a lot of the work that I do day to day, it's kind of within the overall category of kind of classical competitive positioning and, evaluating an environment and then positioning an organization, whether it's a business, whether it's a federal program, to maximize impact or return on investment, whether it's time, attention, resources, money, based on gaps or opportunities that the market presents. And I would agree with you, Bruce, that, automating or increasing the speed with which we can get a baseline understanding of current and forecasted market conditions is a very suitable role for a lot of these LLMs or other, classes of AI applications. Are there other unique value add opportunities for AI applications to support the kind of strategic planning process, in your opinion?
There is. In fact, I was at a business meeting recently, and there's a company called Artiflex AI that is taking all the municipality data from the chamber meetings to the real estate that's been sold and all that data, and they're putting it into a database that AI is parsing out. So they're branching across the USA. So what that does is it enables local governments to search and get information for, say, coastal warming. They can search and get all the links for that happened in the last 20 years, and they can search even sooner than that. They can get information on traffic patterns, on populations, because towns and cities now, when people move in and out, they have no visibility to that at all. And they find out after the fact who moved in and what their status is. So by looking at trends, you can predict what your community is going to do, or what you can do to attract people to your community versus the one next door. And then you can make better decisions in how you're going to promote your community and incentives for people coming in. And the community that's doing that and the community that's not, they're going to have a vast difference of people coming into their towns, because you have to be proactive now. And AI is an enabler that allows you to be proactive and use the tools to look at your history and how you can make that work for you in the future, versus just thinking of things and moving forward with it.
I think that's a great kind of general application that really whether you're looking at energy or electrical engineering, biomedical research, I don't know, homeland security, national defense, being able to synthesize trends to inform more proactive and precise decision making is going to be kind of an evergreen requirement for any organization. I guess, Bruce, from your perspective, are there key elements of, a toolkit or a AI-based workflow that would make that process more effective if, let's say, a federal program manager wanted to start leveraging AI tools to get a better, more real-time sense of their, stakeholder base, market conditions that they're operating in? I guess, how would you recommend they structure that approach?
Well, what I would recommend first, and this is kind of the long pole in the tent, where I've got in back of me, I have a certificate from MIT for AI, for no code AI and machine learning and data science, solutions. And that knowledge is so empowering when I'm working with any situation, because you understand what AI can do as an enabler. And when you understand what it can do, you know what to look for tools in the marketplace. And you know how they work, and you know what questions you have that AI can help you answer by enabling you with the data you need to make better answers. And that's universal across anything. But with government, I believe that if the government were to put out an incentive for education for the people to just learn the basics of AI and how to work with AI, I think enough people would take that because it's pretty common knowledge now. And if they got more people that just understood how to work with AI, then we would have a leapfrog effect of what the effectiveness would be in government, I believe.
The reason I think of it is, it's kind of, you're going to categorize AI within any sort of classical data science, problem or workflow where you've got to define, a specific problem to solve, evaluate what sort of information is available to you that could shed light on that problem. Develop some sort of a processing engine or a tool that transforms this disparate information into actionable intelligence. And then you kind of evaluate the results, refine the model until it gets you information that's really going to benefit you. And I think understanding, at least within the LLM category, that a lot of these tools, these no-code tools, just kind of democratize or reduce barriers to a lot of that, processing, engineering that previously you had to do in, Python, R, Stata, whatever. You don't need to do that to the same degree anymore. Now that background is certainly helpful to advance the sophistication or maturity of the models that you're using, but you can start interacting with a lot of these tools without, a CS degree, which is great.
And that's the beauty of this, that the average person, once they understand how to work with it, they can take any data and work with it to get better results. So it gets you to better results versus good results. And that just results in better solutions. And anything can be used with AI. It could be, and another point in this is prompting. How you ask the question in AI is really important to the answer you get. So instead, if you have effective prompting or words you're putting in the box for what you're asking, you can get your answer in one prompt, or maybe two versus 4 or 5 as you drill down to get your real answer. It's almost like talking to somebody. They give you an answer in the beginning, and unless you ask questions, you get the real answer about the 3rd or 4th drill down that you get, right? So AI is pretty similar like that.
Yeah, and you don't have to invest, hours, days developing an Excel model or, staring at Text Wrangler with a Python script open. You can kind of, evaluate your data, point an AI tool towards it and start experimenting. So I think step 1 is, review a lot of the data sources that, you or your agency or your organization has at its disposal, whether it's internal to the organization or, available publicly. And just having an open-ended conversation with you and your team around how can we use this information and start experimenting. So that's great. I do want to talk a little bit about how, any sort of cultural or adoption barriers that you've seen in terms of government leveraging AI tools. I know that governments are increasingly collaborating with private sector industries or innovators to integrate AI into public services. I know Department of Homeland Security, Health and Human Services have published pretty comprehensive use case like lists related to potential applications of AI for government product and service delivery, or ways in which they can interact more effectively with the public. How do you see this collaboration between government and AI tool providers going so far? Like, what's working well, and what are some of the barriers that people should be aware of?
Well, I think what's working well are the low-lying fruits, because everything's still kind of developing in that area, such as traffic patterns, population data, future planning, and you've got science that's playing a part in this. As government looks into the future, they have to contemplate what's going to be available to what's available now and how can it be used. All this is helpful to enabling it. I think one of the big things is what this local company is doing, and that's just one example of here versus around the country, what other companies are doing with AI that can enable government. And this is something that's developing and percolating, and AI is moving it at a speed where you've got things coming out every other week or every month that have new opportunities on what we can do with AI, and those can be easily parsed into government. The trick is to finding the match. And there's government sites where you can go and you can sign up and you can promote your technology within government for everybody to see. And then they can pick that if it matches them. I was selling CRMs at one point in time, and I had the CIA come in and said they want to buy it. And I said, you don't know anything about it? And they said, we know enough about it. We found you on the site. They bought it. It was the easiest sale I ever made, and I have no idea why they bought it. Right? So that's a good example.
When I think of government adoption of AI tools, I think of it twofold. One is, all right, how can we improve the operational performance or impact of our service and product delivery? How do we, in the case of an emergency, how can FEMA get support and shelter, food to impacted populations faster, more complete? Or within like an R&D capacity, how can we come up with new biomedical or engineering capabilities faster that are aligned with what industry and the public needs? But there's also, a lot of federal programs, and same would go for federal or state or local programs, have such a vast amount of data. And I think that they could almost serve as publishing these data sets, or, almost applets or gems or little prompt sets that would allow the public to more effectively leverage information that a program has access to and can share publicly to, I don't want to say do whatever they want with, but they can provide that as kind of like a public utility that says, hey, we have this really well curated traffic data for the 50 largest metros in the US, almost like a Kaggle competition or a prize challenge. How would you leverage this to develop new products, new services, optimize civic infrastructure? So I think that that's an untapped resource that, federal agencies can not only leverage AI tools to improve their own mission effectiveness, but they can publish, resources that are available to the program for kind of the community to leverage for AI applications as well. I guess any thoughts there?
I think that's a great idea, because there's a lot of information in the private realm that is very applicable to the government. And it's a matter of matching those and finding those to the right location in the government. That's the challenge, is the government's so large that people have an idea. They don't know where to go or how to get it in there. And there are places where you can list what you have and let the government find you. It's like, it's if everybody listed in there, then the government could just go down and from their repository and pick this, and this, because this looks like it has what we need. But if you don't take the action to list with the government agencies, then they're not going to find you. And the government at the same time needs to release, how is it best to work with us with AI? And to your point, let something go to the public where people can start to work with it. There's some restrictions on it, but give them an idea or a step as to what's the best way to start with this or integrate this in your solution so that we can communicate with it. I think that's a great idea. And as it progresses, we're going to get better at doing this. As AI progresses and, of course, the collaboration progresses, it's going to be second nature to us eventually.
No, absolutely. I also think that to your point around, providing a little bit more prescriptive guidance from the government to the public on how to leverage data sets or APIs or little toolkits that could be integrated with a broader AI-based analytical workflow. I think programs can help explain the logic and, decision-making process for, AI tools that leverage their data or, things that have been developed in-house within the government. Given that as AI-based applications become more widespread, I think there's going to be kind of bottom-up public demand for traceability, model explainability, like how did you generate this? And I think that having kind of a trusted authority to provide credible justification or explanation on why these models do would be a good role for government as well.
And justification is important because people need to understand with what they're working, where it came from. In fact, I see in the future that there's going to be we're going back to where there's databases of trusted information that you pay to have access to versus just the general information that's out there. Because as AI creates information, it doesn't always create it accurately. And that's where those private repositories of known data, I think, are going to be popular in the future.
Are there any recommendations that you have for ensuring that trustworthy data and maybe humans are included in AI-supported decision-making processes, whether in the public sector, for private businesses? Are there any best practices or recommendations that you have from your experience that would ensure that a human remains in the loop when, context, empathy, criticality is top of mind?
Yeah, a human needs to be involved in it at this point. Now, we don't know what the future brings, but right now the human needs to be involved in it. And I think clarity on the database you're using is really important because that eliminates all the other questions that you're going to have if you know how it was trained. And then a repository where public and government can work together, I think, and a group of government and people and tech people working together to spearhead this, I think will propagate and will bring things forward much faster because whenever you talk with the other party, you tend to get that much further, that much faster than if you do it independently and try and match them together. So I think collaboration is a really important thing right now, and bringing government and technology together to work on that, I think is going to just be the fastest and best way to do that.
And we had talked a little bit earlier around public sector government applications or systems leveraging AI tools, and trust and public trust in these systems is critical. And so I guess any additional recommendations to ensure that trust, transparency, other kind of softer factors are upheld as AI applications become more widespread?
Well, trust is key. If you don't have trust in what you have, then you really don't have much at all. Transparency, you need to understand where the data is coming from, the quality of the data. It's got to be, somewhat clean data, because if you don't have clean data, it's going to interrupt what goes through AI, and you're not going to get outcomes. So all the basic properties and rules of working with data still apply to this. It's just that this can work faster and can give you different options that you wouldn't have thought of, with the data projecting out into the future. It's an enabler to help you make better decisions. It's not going to give you the answers. It's going to give you the data that can help you make better answers.
Yeah. And I think some of the work that Corner Alliance has supported or continues to support is looking at ways that we can evaluate, based on a specific problem to solve, evaluate the accuracy, reliability, and trustworthiness of the AI model itself. And so whether you're simulating a manufacturing process, energy demand across a municipal grid, if analytical tools are being used to simulate and inform decisions across like any of these hypothetical use cases, how do you know that they're doing a good job kind of predicting real world conditions? And so I guess with that in mind, are there any sort of evaluation criteria or methods that you would recommend stakeholders use when evaluating kind of the quality, for lack of a better term, of AI-based decision-making tools?
Sure. When you start working with an AI, you need to test it and you need to understand what the borders are of the range of the information that it's giving to you, and you have to look at that to see if that's applicable. It's going to work for you. If not, you can train the data to be closer together based on training you can do with LLMs. But it's really important to make sure your request and your answer are aligned well, and that you have the clean data to be able to do that. And with testing, you'll find out what you can produce. And if you're comfortable with that, then you can move forward and you can, use that AI tool.
I did want to, I know typically when people think of AI based tools, given their prominence today, LLMs are kind of the primary focus, but I know the scope of AI applications extends well beyond that. I guess outside of the class of LLM, large language model, AI tools, are there any other categories of, prediction or characterization algorithms that are really exciting to you and their application?
In AI, there's a number of different tools that can be used to run the data. And that's why I'm saying if you get a basic understanding of this, you would understand the different tools that can be chosen, and you can choose the source of analyzing the data that you prefer. That's getting a little technical for most people, but that's the best way to explain it. Is you can, if you're going to build something, you can build it 5 different ways. One way is better than the other 4, and you have to figure out which is the best way to do that. With the tools in the AI, the analytical tools, you can choose the tool that's best for that build. And it's going to be different for different types of builds. But if you understand AI to that point, and that's where my recommendation of just taking a course to understand AI, and you can communicate with it better, you're going to be so much further ahead than anybody that hasn't done that in the future, that your value is going to increase. And I think that's the biggest part of that.
I think the built for purpose consideration is really important because, with any sort of analytically supported decision or tool, it's like, what problem is this going to address? And once you define that and how it, addressing that problem is going to benefit your organization or your customers or in a government agencies, from their perspective, their stakeholders or the public, I think then you can evaluate kind of the full breadth of tools and data sets that are at your disposal and develop an approach that most directly kind of aligns with the pain point or problem that you're trying to address. So I think it's a point well taken. I think in terms of, I guess, last question before we kind of close things up, we do talk a lot about how AI tools will impact the workforce generally. So whether that is, I work for a consulting firm, how are these AI tools going to benefit, supplement, or replace some of the work that I do? I know you've had a lot of diverse experience, whether it's business development, management, strategy, across a lot of different industries, and same goes for government workforce as well. How do you see AI tools impacting the role of today's workforce as they become more widespread?
That's a good question. The way I see that impacting the workforce is everybody's going to have to learn how to work with AI. So the sooner you do that, the better off you're going to be. And then there's so much data out there. If you ask upper managers, what decisions they're looking about and what they're looking to answer, you're going to find that a lot of them say, I just have too much data. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know how to make sense of this data that I'm getting. And understanding AI, you can make sense of the data, and you can get that to a point where it's perceivable and you can make a better decision with the data versus just trying to parse through what you get and trying to parse it together. But I see that AI is an enabler. It's gonna help people do better jobs. It's going to replace some jobs, but those that are prepared to communicate with AI are going to have a better chance of getting a position like that. And at the lower levels, you're going to see some things replace jobs. In Japan, they tried to do robots serving on tables, and it's relatively new, but it's going to be out to the people. Do you like that or do you not? And the people are going to decide whether that's acceptable. In business, you have to enable yourself to be successful, and you have to do the work on yourself to make sure you're ready for tomorrow. And that's why I think that enabling yourself to learn AI is going to break down a lot of the barriers with working with AI, with data, with enabling AI within a company, because the more you know, the better opportunities you see to put AI in there. So I think it's more people-centric than anything.
Yeah. Any recommendations on how today's workforce can prepare through upskilling, training, awareness? I know you'd mentioned there's a lot of different certification programs, but anything that you'd like to add?
There's a lot of AI programs out now. I chose one which is a no-code data, machine learning and AI with building data science solutions, because that gave me what I needed to understand how AI worked in the back end and with my business knowledge in the front end. There are many AI programs, and enabling yourself with one or a few of these programs is going to put you ahead for tomorrow and is going to help you today also. So I think, for each vertical, for each position, you need to choose the one that best suits you.
Great. No, Bruce, I appreciate it. Any final recommendations for, integrating AI into national infrastructure, public sector applications that we haven't already covered?
I think we covered it well. I just think that you need to be aware of where you're trying to go and what you need, and then just verify your data is good. And that'll give you a good leg up on getting to where you want to be.
Great. Well, Bruce Randall, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Where can listeners go to check out more of your work?
They can go to the AIhumanparadox.com. That's the website for the book that I'm writing now.
That's wonderful. And any anticipated release timeline for that?
I'm looking at the end of the year right now, so it's probably going to be December, maybe early January. But thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bruce, thanks again for joining, and we will catch up with you soon and talk to you next time on government AI in the future. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mark.
AI, Government and the Future is brought to you by Corner Alliance. To find out more about Corner Alliance and how we work with government to create results, visit our website at corneralliance.com. And then make sure to search for AI Government Future in Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. And click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Corner Alliance, thanks for listening.